Um, and so Hollywood is rife with symbolism. They fill their movies with symbolism. They fill their uh, movie posters. The It's all over the place. And when you have a recognition of what their symbolism is, then you recognize how pervasive the evil and the dedication to the evil there is. And so the stuff that Owen was talking about is not all conclusively proven true, but a lot of it has been conclusively proven true. Like, for example, when you look at the way in which the female character in Raiders of the Lost Ark was originally supposed to be 11 years old. So, and it wasn't just that she was supposed to be 11 years old. What was really appalling was the way that they were discussing how they were going to do it. And it was clear that there was this excitement and this smirking subversiveness to the idea that the girl was going to be, significantly underage. For example, let me find this here. If you look at and this is not controversial. This is not conspiracy theory. This is just straight out of I believe it was a documentary of some sort. Okay. This is from the January 23rd, 1978 Story Conference transcript, which involved three people: George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and Larry Kasdan. And Lucas says, and it's interesting because I've worked on a few scripts, and these conversations are totally normal. You're trying to figure out how the characters are going to interact. You're trying to figure out how you're going to get the audience to bond with them. So Lucas says, we have to get them cemented into a very strong relationship, a bond. And then Kasdan says, I like it if they already had a relationship at one point, because then you don't have to build it. That's a good point. These guys know what they're doing. Lucas says, I was just thinking that this old guy could have been his mentor. He could have known this little girl when she was just a kid, had an affair with her when she was 11. And Kasdan says, and he was 42. Lucas says, he hadn't seen her in 12 years. Now she's 22. It's a real strange relationship. Okay, notice that Lucas just lowered her age from 11 to 10. Then Spielberg says, she had better be older than 22. Lucas says, he's 35, and he knew her 10 years ago when she was 25, and she was only 12. And Lucas then says, it would be amusing to make her slightly young at the time. Amusing? Really? Spielberg says, and promiscuous. She came on to him. Lucas says, 15 is right on the edge. I know it's an outrageous idea, but it is interesting. Once she's 16 or 17, it's not interesting anymore. Really? Once a girl is 16 or 17, she's no longer interesting? It seems to me for most men, that's just when girls actually start to become a little bit interesting. But if she was 15 and he was 25, and they actually had an affair the last time they met, and she was madly in love with him, and he, Spielberg says, she has pictures of him. In a way, she could say, you made me this hard. Anyhow, this is nightmarish stuff. This is, actual child abuse, and they find it amusing. They find normal male-female relations uninteresting. And so, when you look at this, the idea of remember, these guys are talking about a 42-year-old man having an affair with an 11-year-old girl. And they think that that's the way to create a bond. Now, that doesn't prove some of the stuff that Owen was talking about. But there is a lot of indications that the level of wrongness there is off the charts. Absolutely off the charts. And when you look at these, and this is not how they're talking about when they're, hidden away doing some secret conspiracy rituals or something. This is them at work. This is what Hollywood does. And, if you look at, I've never, ever liked Steven Spielberg, and I've never liked Steven Spielberg's films. I've always felt that there was something wrong about them. I felt much the same way about Spielberg's movies that I felt about Marion Zimmer Bradley's Darkover novels and The Mists of Avalon. And also the way that I feel about George Martin's books. You look at George R.R. Martin's books, and the amount of rape in it is insane. I think somebody did a count, and there is either a rape or a reference to a rape, something like every 16 pages. And so when you look at the way that he spends almost all of his time talking, Martin spends almost all of his time talking about either food or rape. I'm going to mention one of my books later for reasons that will become clear soon. And one of the things that I found so interesting is that here you've got the series of epic fantasy books that are supposed to be about, striving rivals for the kingdom. And yet, he can't even bother to describe most of the battles that take place. He has no interest in the battles. They basically melt the wall, this huge wall that's been there for 700 years, and he comes up with a way of completely blowing it away, in minutes. And so, that we have a saying on our soccer team, which is, as you practice, so you play. Well, philosophically, as you think, so you live. If you spend all your time dwelling on feeding your hedonistic appetites, feeding your stomach, feeding your sexual desires, then that is how you're going to live your life. They're not striving in any way, shape, or form for the beautiful, the good, and the true. They're doing exactly the opposite. They're seeking to subvert, to corrupt, and to destroy. And the more that you become aware of it, the more that you see the symbolism that they throw up and flash in your face constantly,